Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, so welcome to our reps meeting in June. Today, our agenda, ground rules, introductions, which we just pretty much did. Our steering committee, the last meeting we did elect our steering committee. I am Kat Lee, I am the co-chair currently. And
Yes, I'm Jake Burdett, everybody, the other co-chair, and
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
thank you for being here. I guess we can just go down the line with our next.
Hi guys, nice to meet everyone. My name is Malik Mohammed. I am kind of a general member. I'm kind of taking the lead on any actions, protests, events that we'll be doing related to Palestine and the ongoing genocide that we all witnessing currently today. It's a pleasure to meet everyone, and we'll share more information about how we can do that. Thank you.
Francis?
Francis Louise, treasurer, and Robert, you should get here if you want.
Yeah.
Robert Holder, secretary.
Robert is sitting in the audience, but he is our secretary for our second term. And
Sadan Zabragovich, at large.
we have another at-large. And I think, are we missing anyone?
Yeah,
The vice chair.
the main one, yeah, Ying Maddie's our vice chair. The main one I wanted to introduce though was Viviana Lindo, who is newly appointed. We just appointed at the last steering committee meeting, and so.
And is she online or is she not able to attend today?
Is she online?
I don't see her, I think.
But
perhaps-
she made the flyer for the event, so.
She did, so maybe she's running late, but anyway, we just, she's at large as well.
Yeah.
All right, that's the introduction. Ground rules for the meeting is to stay on mute if you are online and we're not on. Raise your hand if you'd like to say something during the general business portion of the meeting. For the Q&A portion, keep questions to 1 minute or less. We will cut you off nicely if you go too long, and be respectful. We just did the who are yous, and of course we have many interest areas. And you can see who our members are, our at-large members. We have several people that I guess not quite here. Anna is also not here today. Ways to get involved and committees. Columbia Association races. So several of us, people affiliated with OR, have run in Columbia Association, including myself. Unfortunately, I did lose. It was for Wild Lake, and it was, I had 200 votes versus 218 for the incumbent, Bill Santos. So I didn't lose by much, but unfortunately, that was the case.
How long are those held?
For Wild Lake, each village is different.
Oh.
So Wild Lake is every single year,
Oh.
and others, it
One
might
way long.
be every other year. What is it for Oakland Mills? Is it every?
It's yearly.
It's yearly as well. It depends on which village you live in.
Okay.
And you can go to Columbia Association's website and look up your village and find out. We have also been working
2 years.
with Palestine solidarity efforts. We've done several rallies. The last one was at the George Howard building. That was, what date was that?
That was May 15th for Knocked Day.
Yes, not the day. So that was the last one we did. We have been working with tenant associations and rent stabilization efforts. We're trying to gear up to get back into that. We kind of put that on hiatus, but we are probably going to start. What is the building we're thinking about starting at?
It's called Autumn Crest in Oakland Mills. Yeah, Karen, I'm glad you're here for this. Quite a bit of Oakland Mills discussion later on in the PowerPoint when we talk more about the tenant association stuff.
We've also been around for a lot of union solidarity efforts. Most of the latest ones have revolved around Starbucks, and the one in Ellicott City just recently unified. Anti-Moms for Liberty efforts, every time that they meet, and one of them was here not that long ago at this library, Back Central Library, and we do attend those rallies and support the libraries and the schools, and we do not believe in voting.
And we'll be opposing any Moms for Liberty affiliated candidates.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a Google form where you can sign up for committee interests, including County Legislative Committee, Board of Ed Tracking Committee, State Legislation Issues Committee, Community Visibility Outreach, Direct Service Committee, and Social Event Committee. And if someone could put that in the chat, that would be great. Backwards here. Right now we have she's not here, or she might be online. Kat Montague is our social media campaign. She promotes our pages on Twitter and Facebook, and so we can use even more help if that's something that we're interested in doing. Website design for our HoCo, volunteer and table at public events, volunteer to help onboard new recruits and members to our HoCo, and we are looking for volunteers to help plan monthly social events. So these were the presidential primary election results. A lot of us voted uncommitted due to the fact that we were still sending tons and tons of military aid to Israel, and so many of us were involved in the uncommitted campaign and the primary, which already happened. And it looks like 10%. We got 10% of the vote. And we consider that a victory, even though it doesn't sound like much, because it is rare for people to vote uncommitted. So, still 10% is pretty good. And we were one of the first groups nationally to join the uncommitted campaign. Go back. There they are.
There's our steering committee
There's our
members.
steering committee. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
They're in the waiting room. Sorry about that.
Okay, so welcome Ying, Anna, and Brianna, right? Okay.
They're just taking a little time. Ian's always does that. They're connected.
They're connected.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes, I'm connected. Hello.
Hello. Thank you.
So this is a little recap of Board of Ed primary elections. District 1, Meg Ricks, who was endorsed by our revolution, got 48.34% of the vote. So second was Andre Gao, so they will go, I guess, runoff in the primary, in the general, excuse me. District 4, the two that got the most votes were Julie and Jen, Julie Kaplan and Jen Mallow. Unfortunately, our revolution candidate, Harry Hagu, did not get enough votes to continue. And this is extremely, I think, I live in District 4, important one, because we know that Julie Kaplan is somewhat affiliated with the Moms for Liberty. I think she has taken some dollars from Tootie Adler, so this is a very dangerous candidate to have controlling our schools. We do not want our schools censored, so people in District 4 should really be paying attention to this one very closely.
Sorry.
before I go on and move to something else, want to share anything about the Board of Ed race? Anyone have any comments? No? If you are, you may unmute yourself. And this is the NAPA Day Rally. This was at the George Howard Building, and the young lady that you see there, she is a UMBC student. She is a local poet, has won awards. Her name is Diane Cassia. And that day she read some poetry, which was really very, very moving. And that happened at George Howard Building. It was a small group, but we had a good turnout.
There's over 50 people. But yeah, sorry. I think Malik maybe could share.
Did you want to share something out of the
Yeah,
book?
yeah, of course. So, thank you, Kat, for that amazing presentation so far.
Malik, do you have a microphone over there?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can
Maybe you
hear
could.
Can you guys hear me now?
Do you wanna
Do you want to stand and speak into this microphone right here?
I'll stand and speak.
This is picking us up, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, first off, thank you for having me here. So, as everyone here probably already knows, our revolution has been heavily involved in pushing for a ceasefire resolution and divestment of Israel ever since October 7th. We all know what happened on October 7th. But so the work that we've done so far, as Kat mentioned earlier on, we were involved in the Maryland Uncommitted campaign, and with our help and the help of the various organizations, coalitions that we're doing so far, we have about 9.72 registered voters vote uncommitted. So the vote did not vote by any or any of the other candidates. It was a symbolic vote. And given the fact that we kind of prepped everything, I don't want to say last minute, but on a tight deadline, I think the fact that we got 9.72 Marylanders to vote uncommitted was an astounding turnaround. So that's the one thing that we've done so far. And as was mentioned earlier, we have the May 15th Nakba Day rally. For those of you who don't know, Nakba Day is the day of commemoration of the Nakba, aka the Palestinian catastrophe, which was the destruction of Palestinian society and Palestinian homeland in 1948, and it resulted in the permanent displacement of most of the Palestinian people from their homeland. So it is generally commemorated on May 15, and for Palestinian people, it is an annual day of commemoration of the displacement that preceded and followed Israel's establishment. We had a great turnaround. The weather wasn't perfect, but people showed up in numbers and showed their support for the movement. So we are currently gearing up for the investment campaign via the Universal Human Rights Screening Policy, which is a policy which was sent to us. We were informed of the policy thanks to our friend Howard Hughes, who is here with us. So basically, is the board of the American Friends Service Committee approved on June 2021 a new policy statement for organizing and incorporating a framework where if your business who takes part in any actions of apartheid or other such actions, then Maryland will divest all businesses from you. So with that being said, some future things that we are planning on doing, we are going to have a community art bill on June 29. Everyone's invited. More information will be sent your way. But, you know, we've done a lot of protesting, and we have mostly been asking members to show up with signs and art material, but we thought it would be important and useful to have material of our own, and at the same time, it is an opportunity for all of us to come together as a community. In these times where we are seeing so much horror, I think it's important for us to be there for one another. And the art bill is one way that, you know, adults and their children, families, friends, anyone who is going through it right now can show up and share community and support each other through these very trying times. So some other events that we are going to be having, we are going to be showing up on the June 20th Board of Education meeting for Howard County school systems. We are going to be talking about some of the discrimination that Palestinian American children here in Howard County, Muslim American
You can either speak up or use the mic.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can't hear a word you're saying.
Okay, good, actually.
This fan is interfering.
Okay, well.
Yeah, the mic is not in the PA system, it's going to the camera.
The mic only goes to that, so project your voice.
Yeah, sorry about that. So
That's great, thank you so much for turning that off, that's gonna help a lot.
thanks a lot. So as I was saying, on June 20th at 7 p.m., we are going to be having a Human Rights Commission meeting where we are going to show up, express our displeasure with the Human Rights Commission for not passing a ceasefire resolution. This is an effort that has been ongoing since October 7th. We have multiple meetings with the Human Rights Commission, and they've been kind of giving us the runaround, but we hope that by showing up and by showing up in numbers, we will eventually lead to a ceasefire resolution being passed here in Howard County, and we hope that it will lead to divestments to happen in Howard County. And as I was saying earlier, on June 20th at 4 p.m., we are going to be showing up at the Board of Education meeting so that we can talk about the discrimination that Palestinian American children, Muslim American children, and any allies have been facing. So with that being said, you know, if you guys, okay, when you guys, if anyone here is interested in showing up, getting more involved, please let us know. We would be happy to have you.
And June 20th is a Thursday, for those of you who are looking at your calendars.
Thank you, Kat. And let me just, all right.
And then, one thing real quick before we move on to the next topic, which is the rent stabilization stuff, and then I think we're starting with the Lakefront Library presentation, so thank you all for being patient. But yeah, just did want to take a quick vote real quick. I know part of, you know, with the Palestinian International Solidarity Committee efforts, and working with Howard County for Free Palestine, Howard County for Free Palestine has put together 4 letters, actually. 3 are to the Howard County Human Rights Commission. 1 letter is to the County Council and County Executive. Curie, please remind me, was it all 4 letters we were being asked to sign on to, or just one?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah.
Which one?
The letter on
Censorship to the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, as I think Malik just talked about a little bit, you know, for months now, Muslim Palestinian students and really just, you know, anybody who's, you know, try to do any sort of activism or advocacy in school in support of, you know, Palestinians, have been facing pretty severe censorship within the school system. The students have been speaking up about this, testifying about it at Board of Education meetings. We brought the concerns to the Howard County Human Rights Commission, who I think back in January or February did make a motion and passed a motion to, I believe, form an ad hoc committee to investigate this school censorship. And again, this was back in January and February. We have not heard anything about this investigation, you know, whether this committee actually was formed or has been active. And so the letter is basically just like a follow-up on them to like try to get a status update and you know, sort of pressure them to do what they said they were going to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I would like to motion that Our Revolution, Howard County, you know, sign on as a signatory to that letter. Is there a second for that motion? Karen. Second from Karen. Any discussion before we take yeas and nays? Not hearing any discussion, so all in favor of Our Revolution, Howard County signing on to this letter, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, and so, yeah, with no further ado, to stay on time here, yeah, Kat mentioned a little bit about our rent stabilization efforts, the Howard County Rent Stabilization Coalition, which did get a rent stabilization bill introduced earlier this year and at the end of last year, but unfortunately the bill did die. But the coalition still very much exists. We are, you know, trying to, you know, keep the fight for tenants going. We think that we don't have the momentum to get another rent stabilization bill introduced, but we're trying to mobilize tenants in other methods, mainly by, you know, forming tenant associations in different areas of the community, especially in Oakland Mills. So we'd love to talk to you, Karen, about how we can work with the CA, especially since we have at least one tenant on the village board there who's very much plugged in with these efforts. And so if people are interested in tenant organizing efforts, whether it's rent stabilization or otherwise, please you know, come to me or to one of us and let us know. We'd love to get you plugged into that fight. So Kat, if you want to give a short update on, I know you talked about the elections already, but
well, I think one of the most very short update meetings was May 9th. And of course, it always starts with residents speak out, and people talked about, several people, and the usual suspects. Bob Dover talked about how it was basically a big failure, the stream restoration project. And some other people testified as to all the dead trees and the failure a complete failure of it, basically, and that they need to just fix the damage because trees are dying and it should be fixed. There were a couple other people who spoke, including myself. Mine was about flooding in Fairway Hills, which is becoming more and more common, and all I was told is they'll get back to me on that one. Even though, well, at this point, the council went on to nominate who was going to be the chair of the, because Eric was, I guess, he wanted to run again, but it sounded like to me that he did not have the votes. And so what happened, and I watched this for more than an hour, it went on and on and on. They kept voting. People were nominated. Two in particular. One was Keith from, I believe it's King's Contrivance, and the other was Bill Santos, who was my opponent at Wild Lake. Bill, who almost lost his election. 5 people apparently thought that was a good indication that he should be chair of the Columbia Association. And the other half thought Keith should do it. And Keith actually seems the better qualified person, and I have scribbles here like, I cannot believe this is happening. As I watched it, there are only 2 people of color on that board of 10 people. And one of them is Keith. And Keith is actually extremely well qualified. He is the CEO of a credit union, and yet they were arguing about him being fit for chair. I'm not sure what was going on, but eventually Keith just said, withdraw my name, Bill can have it. And so Bill Santos is now the chair of the Columbia Association. And that's, for me, I don't think the greatest news, because clearly the board is divided. Only half the people supported him. I don't know how they're gonna get anything done. But that's how it is now.
And Keith resigned, right?
And apparently, well, when I went to go look to see what was going on there's now an opening in King's Contrivance, so I'm assuming that Keith has resigned and is not coming back. Because the last meeting he was not there. So I guess there's an opening now.
Yeah, I'll just add, I believe King's Contrivance is having a meeting either tonight or tomorrow night to interview a candidate. And then they'll appoint somebody to replace Keith.
For the full term or until election?
Till the next election would be my
It
assumption.
should be 1 year or 2 years?
Yeah, the King's Contrivance is up for election next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was trying I promise I was trying desperately, Karen, to try to get some because we have a lot of good people in our network in King Contrivance. I think to submit your resume for interest was due June 3rd. I actually didn't get anybody to file, but it sounds like somebody did file, and so I guess we'll see who that person is, especially if they get appointed tonight or tomorrow. So thank you for that. And yes, so treasurer's report, I assume is just same as last month.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to get up with Paul with the or did we already got his checks? No,
Got the checks
okay,
from
that's
Paul.
right.
Just
We gotta do
need to meet with
Waiting
you
on-
and Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so right on time here. So without any further ado, we can go ahead and start talking about the more substantive part of the meeting that I think a lot of people, are here for, and that is to discuss the Lakefront Library, the very controversial Lakefront Library. I feel like it's not very often that, a library construction gets announced and it triggers, anger from residents and, multiple town halls and a lot of negative press, usually, for what is typically seen as a community good. It would be, really celebrated, something like the announcement of a new library, especially when our county compared to, similar counties around the state, we actually have a lot less libraries than those counties do. And so there definitely, at least in my opinion, is a need for new libraries. But just to, if you're here, you're probably already cued into a lot of this stuff, but in case you came to find out more, do just want to sort of recap the timeline of events with this library up to now, and also talk about some of the more recent developments that made us want to call another town hall around this issue, despite the fact that this was announced a year ago. And so I guess when this was first announced, as people may remember, it was about a year ago. I think it was last May, right before the budget season. And it was sort of a last-second surprise announcement by our county executive. They really went the full mile to make this a big thing. They even caught they caught all of the public by surprise with this announcement. They even caught several county council members by surprise with this announcement, but nonetheless, those who were included in the announcement clearly did know about it. There was a lot of planning behind the scenes with the selected people who they let in on the plans, and so I think when this was announced by surprise by the county executive, big press conference, I think at Lakefront, got all the media assembled, had Governor Wes Moore there, had, I believe, former county executive Ken Allman may have been there, and so you had a lot of powerful players from Howard County, the state of Maryland, involved with this. But again, actual local elected decision makers like our county council members were completely left in the dark. And so I think that was one thing that raised a lot of people's eyebrows when this was first announced. It's like, makes you ask the question, why was there a need to do such a, such a full court press to try to paint this with such an over-the-top positive narrative, and also why were certain people left in the dark? These were the questions that a lot of people were asking, and so there's a lot of fanfare from the media when this was announced. It was announced as if it was, a done deal. This thing's definitely happening. And then people started to dig into the details beyond just, oh, shiny new library at Lakefront. When you dove into the details, it very much was damning in a lot of ways, in the sense that, one, the price tag of it. It was $144 million, which I believe was the most expensive, capital project to that point, aside from the Circuit Courthouse, which was controversial in its own right. And so there was the price tag. There was the fact that it was a sole source contract, not competitively bid, that was slated to go to Howard Hughes Corporation, the main developer in downtown Columbia, who owns a lot of property in downtown Columbia and Lakefront. And of course, having this big fancy library would probably increase their property values in downtown Columbia. And so Howard Hughes Corporation, one of the biggest players of donating to our politicians with the expectation of getting favorable policy in return. And so I think there's a lot of questions about whose benefit is this library being proposed for? Is it for the public's benefit, or is it mostly for the benefits of Howard Hughes Corporation and padding their bottom line? And it'd be one thing if they were proposing just building a whole new lakefront library and taking us from 6 libraries to 7, but that was another damning details. That wasn't actually the proposal. The proposal is not to just build a new library. Instead, the proposal is to tear down this library that we're in right now, that seems like a perfectly good library, which was just renovated not that long ago. It's literally the central branch library of the county. And so again, there's a question of, it's one thing if you're building a new library, but that's not what's happening. We're replacing a perfectly good library with a different library. And so, there's, and spending $144 million to do it. There's also a question about what, think of what could be paid for with $144 million. I believe, I don't know if, oh yeah, Drew Roth right here. I'm sure a high school could probably be built in Elkridge for
It could be.
$144 million. And so, there's a question of what better things could this money be spent on. When you dove into the details of the actual proposal itself, for the amenities that come with the library, like the parking garage that was supposed to come with it, when you broke down the cost per parking space of that parking garage, it was astronomically more than most other parking garages, the cost per space. And so there's a real question about efficiency. So yeah, the public, we're not stupid. And so we know how these boondoggle sneaky schemes work in Howard County. And so despite all the fanfare, despite getting all these powerful and influential people at the unveiling, all these problems that I just described, much of the public sort of saw through them. And so there was a lot of, criticism of the project at the public hearings during the budget session. I think Councilmember Liz Walsh asked a lot of scathing questions about former County Executive Ken Allman's involvement with the project with his company Margrave Strategies, which is essentially a consultant for development projects like this. All that is to say that there was a lot of conflicts of interest, and again the price tag and just the non-transparent nature of the announcement and questioning, is there even a need for this in the first place, caused a lot of pushback. And so because of that pushback, because of town halls like these, negative media pressure, people showing up to testify, pointing out all these things, the county, which when they proposed this, again, they were proposing this like this was a done deal. This library's coming down. We're building a new one at Lakefront for $144 million, and there's nothing that you can do about it. But because of such public pressure, we basically forced the county's hand, and force them to, go back on a lot of that and go back to the drawing board and reevaluate this project, which again, they were acting like was a done deal, but clearly it's not a done deal. And so that was for about a month or two. That saga was playing out last year, and then because of the pushback and them, going back to square one, we kind of didn't hear much about it for the last year or so. My understanding was that they were still planning on building some lakefront or some library. They were still planning on tearing down this library, but it wasn't going to be $144 million anymore. And also the location might be in question. Yeah, Drew.
That's only $140 million again still. That's what they were saying 3 days ago with that Howard Hughes banner hype fest. So
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah, and so yeah, that was what I thought at the time, was that they were going back on the $144 million, saying, oh, public, you don't have to, it's going to be competitively bid, it's going to, we're addressing a lot of your concern. They were still acting like, there was going to, this library is still going to be torn down, but they're saying, the location's susceptible to change, the price tag might be susceptible to change. But the reason why we decided to call another town hall and to try to raise this issue again is, the county kind of didn't touch this again for the last 9 months or a year, but earlier at the beginning of this year, they started to put out a survey saying, hey, this Lakefront Library, they're saying, hey, the Central Branch Library is still gonna get taken down, but we're open-minded on the location. We're not so dead set on the lakefront location that Howard Hughes was pushing for. And instead, they put out a community survey listing 5 different options and for locations. And those options were keeping it at the original lakefront location, the very controversial one. Another option was there's a different lakefront location owned by David Costello, another developer. There was a location in Merriweather District, and then there was a proposal to the old Lord and Taylor store at the Columbia Mall to basically redevelop that into the new library. And then the last option on the survey was to still tear down this Central Branch Library, but then rebuild a new library on top of this site, a bigger library. And I should add, another criticism of the original Lakefront Library plan was that they were going to tear this down and then put a jug handle exit ramp here to make it easier to get in and out of downtown Columbia for the benefit of Howard Hughes Corporation. So that was another source of pushback. And so all that is to say, the county is, saying, hey, we're open-minded on different locations. Here's this survey. This is a public process with public participation. There's nothing to worry about, no funny business, no conflicts of interest here. But again, the reason why we were a little bit skeptical and kind of aren't really taking the county for their word when they're saying that they're open-minded and that this is going to be a fair and objective process. Yes, Larry.
A couple of months ago, they've been doing these community talks and
Yep.
interventions, and I went to one at HCC, and we were given the options. The whole process is being run by a consulting firm that I'm sure they're paying huge money to, which is very good, is very badly. They told us that we had to choose amongst these different options, but when we asked them what the cost differential was, they wouldn't tell us. So they said, we haven't done a thorough accounting. They wouldn't say if there was a marked difference between any of the options. So the idea was we would choose only on the basis of location. They did not give us either a PowerPoint or a piece of paper with, listing them side by side, showing what the differences were. So the whole thing was, felt like a farce, and several people in the audience said, this is a farce.
Yeah.
And some of the county council members there were offended by
Yeah.
the response.
And she is correct. I went to that session as well. There was no option for no build.
That's right.
Yeah, that should have been an option on the survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, I want to be clear, that is the purpose, or one of the intended purposes of meetings like this is to, you know, just like the county was trying to make it seem like it's a done deal in terms of the original location being at Lakefront, and there was no debating that, and then there was enough public pushback, and then suddenly they said, okay, that is up for discussion. That's what I hope that we can create, that sort of pressure and conversation about, do we even need do we even need to tear down this library in the first place? I'm all for building a 7th library, but not if it comes at the expense of an existing one. And so yeah, I mean, it sounds like at these community meetings, yeah, they put out the survey, and then they're also having community meetings to engage members of the public about the different options. But as Lori and others have shared, it seems like even at these meetings, people are being, pressured into making a very uninformed decision without, all the information, especially something as vital as cost. Like, obviously location is important, but if one location is $50 million more expensive than the other one for whatever reason, I'm sure people would want to factor that into their decision. And so Lori is pointing out a lot of the things of why, we felt, despite what the county may be saying, we're very much skeptical about whether we can take it seriously given their track record. And so I want to just go through those examples real quick, and then I see Jimmy's got her hands up, and we'll hand it to members of the public to come speak their mind. But one, it might be kind of hard to see, but these pictures were taken on April 1st of this year, which was after the county was putting out their survey. And these pieces of paper were taken from the Central Branch Library. And basically, at the Central Branch Library, they're still handing out literature, promoting it as the Lakefront Library, advertising it on the TVs as the Lakefront Library, while they're putting out a survey saying, oh, it's not necessarily the Lakefront Library, it could be anywhere. But still, they're handing out this literature, as you see in this picture here on the right. They're still promoting it online as the Lakefront Library. And so again, it makes me think, was this really a, good faith, open-minded, objective survey process, or were they trying to get, sort of an answer that they wanted? And these 3 images here, few other examples. It might be, tough to see from there, but one is a screenshot from a Baltimore Banner article about the Lakefront Library, and they're saying that the project manager is a group called Arcadis, and Arcadis was the project manager for that circuit courthouse in Howard County that we built, which was the previous, which was the other, most expensive capital project, and that was so controversial because it was a P3 project, public-private partnership, which sounds very similar to the Howard to this Lakefront Library model. And P3s are notorious for taking public money, giving it to private entities, and not getting a better or more efficient outcome. And so that's all I have to say. The project manager has a sketchy track record with big projects like this in Howard County specifically. Another thing that raises the eyebrows is Lori mentioned that there was different consultants and whatnot who've been involved in these community meetings about the different locations. And somebody shared that at one of these community meetings there was a group called Sage Policy Group handing out literature promoting the original Lakefront location that Howard Hughes Corporation wanted. And if you go on Sage Policy Group's website, you'll see there Howard Hughes Corporation is one of their top clients listed. Also Sage Policy Group, they also did the housing analysis for the very controversial Erickson Living CCRC in Clarksville, which is another controversial developer scheme that fudged the facts in a great way and did a lot of harm to the public. And so, and then the last thing I just want to share of another reason why we felt that this was a timely to do something like this on the Lakefront Library now is it is my understanding that this group doing the survey, Arcadis, I believe they are supposed to be presenting their results from the survey on the different locations to the county council in July, so next month. And so even though this hasn't been in the news for a few months, we kind of wanted to get ahead of it because we think it is going to be in the news, next month when this presentation happens. And as much as I want to be able to trust the process and trust the survey, I think we just outlined a lot of reasons why, maybe we should be a little bit skeptical. Obviously, we have to wait for what the results are, but it seems like they were definitely trying to get a predetermined outcome with that. And so those are the reasons why, we wanted to, raise this discussion, see, has community sentiment changed at all since a year ago, which it seems like it was very skeptical. And so I'll stop talking now. I see Ginny's got her hand up, and then if anybody else, either on Zoom wants to say something, or if anybody in the room wants to say something, maybe you can.
Ginny, go ahead, you can unmute yourself.
I did. Okay, thank you. One quick question. A while ago, I asked if this was being recorded so we could really show the library section, especially to other people. Is that being done? Just the library part. It's a little late now. I put it on chat a while ago, so it's not being that's the way it goes. Second question. Results of the survey. I was wondering if Matt, you just answered that. But the lady that responded a while ago, I totally agree with the survey. Any intelligent council members should do the survey. Recording in progress. Oh, well, it's a little late now. Okay. Yeah, survey should get the weight it deserves, hopefully by any intelligent council member. Because I responded to it and I really, but yeah, the thing is, it's not a good survey. The last question in terms of reality testing, does anybody know how much money was actually in the county budget that was approved the capital, which should be in the capital budget for this project? That tells you something right there.
Sounds like Drew knows.
$5 million in 2025.
She's saying it. Drew says it was $5 million in 2025 is what the county put towards it. And from my understanding, the funding mechanism is complicated for this. It's some money from the state and some money from the county.
I think that's where the $5 million came from, but they haven't put in any money for construction in the out years yet.
$5 million.
Yeah, well, you really gotta look at that part of the budget. You could say just for design or whatever, not for the total project, that would be the following years, et cetera. So that's the, and if it's any more specifics on there, that would give you some clue about where they're going to take. But more than likely, they're hiding it, so, the $5 million means just, you have to really just figure out what exactly it is for. I appreciate that you're doing this. I think we need more of this. And the July meeting, probably, I was told that, if you're really a smart council member, you wouldn't give it anybody at all. But thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for that insight, Jenny. I see.
Hear any of it.
Yeah, it's let's see. Is there Francis? You're good at tech. Is there way to make it so?
Yeah, the computer just doesn't have the speaker speaking
I
to
don't
it.
have.
Yes.
We need more time.
Well, I will. We've got two other people. I will more loudly say, summarize what they say. Yeah. See, we got some others on Zoom.
Two others. We'll let Anna go ahead.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, good evening. This is with the library. They are not cool, so you can see the flyer picture that I did mention. But it all sounds like a perspective with here in the park during COVID, where they went to the over and build the fire station, make it into something completely different. And they were banking on the enforcement, community not being aware. They were banking on people not connecting
advertise and put the word out as much as possible before, actually before school lets out. We'll have to try to go ask those schools.
Yes.
If they get people to come to the meeting where all this announcements are being made.
Yes, no, thank you, Anna. And yeah, so for those who couldn't hear it in person, Anna was just basically saying that she was really caught off guard by all the shady tactics initially, and then also was surprised to see it still being promoted as the Lakefront Library after all this time. So she agrees that there is a need to kind of raise community awareness about this and, get organized, get mobilized before it's too late, especially with their meeting coming up next month. And she's also speculating about maybe they even are trying to do these meetings on purpose when people are out of town and it's harder to keep them engaged and whatnot. Okay, and so it looks like Joel has his hand up.
Okay.
Hey Joel, how you doing?
I'm gonna correct so many things, I hope I can get them all. It was first announced in March before first meeting last year. And because of the uproar, the council was reconsidering the budget with five million too far from the state to do the study that resulted in the survey. And I went to every consultant meeting that started in the winter, and yes, they were not very well attended, and the demographics they were, and not a lot of young people or younger were there. They also had a survey online for the comments in the chat about the live location. I believe that the Costello site threw it in, and I talked to some of the county shoppers in property, which is subject to litigation. He wanted to Howard Hughes in part because I think he wanted to stick it to Howard Hughes. So that's why the property is there. The consultant told me that the library was publicized. The library did not want ideas in their report, but now doesn't want any other location. The county council directed the administration to do the study. Cadence was hired by the administration. The library has had nothing to do with it, and that's why they're still promoting it. I confirm that Mr. Lasse's communications director of the library. But I asked him if they were doing it with their own hands. He said no. So that's why I said that Tommy Aikman likes the library. I didn't say that in 2017 I came up with this plan for the Lakefront Library. It's amazingly similar to what happened. So I've been in favor of this long before everybody else because I hate what you've ignored all night is development rights and responsibilities agreement that the council approved with Howard Hughes. Then that library to be torn down, turned into a portable housing site, and the library was going to be built by the Housing Commission in the corner of Merriweather in a cul-de-sac, which I think is the most ridiculous place for the library. That's the cul-de-sac in a corner, bounded on two sides by the highway, it's a wetland. The building was going to be torn down also to realize the road, which is not the junk handle, the junk handle at the other end of the road near the parking garage, which is already under construction. There are two parts of our project you can't access to Merriweather, which is not to benefit our users, to not have all the traffic going other places, or take your turn and get off of the flyover. If you read the library, I believe they said it's renovated in 2016. It did minimal amount of one space for public. Two, apparently a lot of the HVAC and the plumbing was leaking. It wasn't surprising. So they did that to extend the money, which under the GRA, I think they're supposed to start construction like in a year from now. They're missing those deadlines. And it seems to me well over a decade since the 2016 renovation for the current library to remove the current rate, which looks like 2027 or later. say. Part of the problem is that Howard Hughes in the current plan doesn't explain what to do with the talking that if they just don't build their houses and commercial that they previously have to put.
Okay,
That's
thank
all
you.
through my
Thank you,
planning
Joe.
board. And
We have other people who'd like to share,
no,
but
the big problem, no, I finished, that the fact is, under the DRA, the library, that library can be torn down and they don't Meriwether. So if you want to do anything, you've got to force the county and Howard Hughes to amend the DRA anyway, and just keep attacking it, not have a Lakefront Library, you're gonna end up with the library in Meriwether.
So Joel,
Stop with, and you're gonna send the library, and you have to amend the relationship contract between Heritage and the county, because they're gonna go, they don't agree to it, they're going to follow what's already been.
yeah, so Joel's bringing up the point that the reason why they're saying that the tearing down the Central Branch Library is set in stone, and it's the location that's, you know, up for debate, is he's saying that there's a developer rights and responsibilities agreement signed between the county and between Howard Hughes Corporation, Joel? Yeah, between Howard Hughes Corporation and the county, signed in, I believe, 2017 it was. 2016, and that, yeah, and that included, you know, that the Central Branch Library was supposed to be torn down, but he's also saying that that document also says that the new library is supposed to be in Meriwether District, not Lakefront District. He also points out that, Drew, the $5 million or whatever that the county approved was for a study, and apparently that's what is going towards Arcadis, and it was the administration who got to choose, you know, who gets to do the study, and so he chose, you know, probably one that, you know, was going to give him the answer that he wanted. But Joel, my question is, you know, you're saying it's a done deal. The DRRA already says that the Central Branch Library needs to be torn down, and so if we want to change that, we'd have to get the DRRA amended. But don't they already have to amend the DRRA to change the location from Meriwether to Lakefront?
I think they do, but I have yet to hear any statement from the county or the law that they agree. Because if you read the DRA, that it's going to be in the area in the corner of Meriwether, or another suitable area agreed to between the library and the county in the Crescent District. And the lakefront is not in the Crescent. And as far as I can tell, only one site that's not spoken for in the Crescent.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
to move it anywhere but the Crescent, I believe it needs to be amended, but the county, so that's what you should be pushing the county to do, because on top of that, the next section of the DRA is about Banneker Fire Station and the housing there. The fire department no longer wants the fire station there, they want to put it on Cedar Lake and Eagle Ridge, so I think that also needs to be amended. And the housing commission would like to go ahead with building in Meriwether, and if they had the money, I think they would start construction of another library, so it's unclear where they're at, that, the DRA is predominantly about housing, so everything revolves around affordable housing.
Yeah. Joel also brings up, you know, that there's a housing component that's supposed to be attached, or was originally supposed to be attached in the developer rights and responsibilities agreement, and Howard Hughes Corporation is basically trying to kind of like weaponize that to get what they want a little bit, and so thank you for sharing that, Joel. Ginny, I don't know if your hand is up from earlier, or if it,
it's new.
oh,
No, I have a current question based on what Bill said.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, one, at the, clear somewhere by saying has to be amended, even if it's that, but I think so, that's gonna be a process that has to occur. It seems like it's
Well, that's what the SAGE policy group, who is promoting the lakefront, the original lakefront location, apparently they were saying part of the reason why they're promoting the lakefront was they're promoting like the housing aspects of the affordable housing aspects of it.
In that building, on that exact site, they're gonna have affordable housing?
Yes, that
I don't know where. I don't know where.
That's what it sounded like, that it was going to be attached, but I don't know for sure.
But on that side, as part of the 140 million, will include affordable housing?
At the,
I think if you look at the document somewhere, and they say that if you don't build the library, the Merriweather corner, as I call it, then the library space there can have more affordable housing there. But the affordable housing.
That's entirely different from what I was asking. I'm talking about the lakefront side.
Yes, there is no housing at the lakefront.
Maybe we should have this discussion another time.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are at time now. We have to actually vacate this room at the library. And so I would ask that everyone look into this. We have documents that are online that you can look at regarding this, that we'll be posting on our web, and links, and look forward to our next meeting in July, which will be July 8th at 7, to be announced as to which location we'll be able to have that at. And so we're gonna have to clean up and move out.
I do think we have a little bit
Do
more
we have-
time. Yeah, we do have a little bit more time. So I don't know if anybody else wanted to make it. Yeah, Lori?
If they are gonna have a presentation in front of the county council, I think we should be organized in our protest.
Yes.
And at the very least, if they are gonna go ahead and build this, they have to put some money aside to bring people to it. I mean, my argument about all of this is we have this big expensive building, and they expect everybody to go to it, where the library should be going out into the community.
Yeah.
We should have mobile vans going everywhere, particularly in places like Laurel, where you have the immigrant population, people with less money and don't have access to public, private transportation. So, anyway.
Laura also doesn't have a library.
Right. Exactly.
And they
Actually, it
could-
does.
Oh, it does?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But a lot of those libraries are very small.
It's on Gorman Road.
Yeah.
It seems to serve the community. It
Okay.
could be nicer.
It could be nicer.
Of
Yeah,
course.
actually, I think they lend out tools there, in fact, one of the libraries.
that would be in Elbridge.
Yeah, Megan?
Why is it-
Hold on, Joel. Sorry. Yeah, Megan?
I was gonna say, they're focusing on building a lot. Why don't we focus more on where in Howard County is underserved by the library system, and where we should put, smaller libraries there instead of like this huge thing in Columbia.
Yeah. When Columbia already has multiple libraries. But yeah, no, I agree, and I don't think we have an exact date for when the July presentation is, but I do agree that we should, show up in force when that time comes. Yeah, Drew?
So, this is a bigger issue than the library. This is really about the gross disparity in where the county invests money in infrastructure and amenities. So, I've been thinking about this since the last time we had a library hearing. And what I did is I went through every capital budget that Calvin Ball submitted. And I went through each line item in the capital budget. And if I could allocate the line item to a region of the county, I tagged it like that. And then you could tote up where the money's being spent. I have a report on this if you want to read it. But the bottom.
I read it.
Huh?
I read it.
Yeah. The bottom line is between 2020 and 2024, the Howard County capital budget spent $255 million in Columbia. Where I live in Elbridge, which is half the size of Columbia, the county spent $2.5 million. 1% of what was spent in Columbia. Here are some highlights of what that money was spent on in Columbia. $6.1 million for the Harriet Tubman Center. The new Cultural Center, $17.3 million. Hammond High School renovation, $98 million. Talbot Springs Elementary School renovation, $29.7 million. Faulkner Ridge conversion to Head Start classrooms, $22 million. Dobbin Road multi-use pathway, $4.5 billion. Improvements to Blandair Park, $4.8 million. Athletic fields by the East Columbia Library, $5.3 million. Repaving the Columbia-Patuxent Branch Trail, $6.2 million. And Clarksville Streetscape, $3.1 million. And that's a long list of amenities Columbia's got. For the $2.5 million they spent in Columbia, they renovated the bathrooms at Troy Park and put in some better grandstands. This is ridiculous. This is way worse than a glamour library for Columbia. This is Columbia sucking the money out of the rest of the county for their own benefit, and it needs to change. Every part of the county should receive a comparable share of the investment, the same level of service, and the same level of amenities. It doesn't matter whether you're in North Laurel, Elkridge, Ellicott City, or the rural west, you should get the same level of amenities and service. It should not all be in Columbia, and that's what we're getting now. This library needs to die in a fire.
How many of the districts for the council touch Columbia?
Three.
4?
3.
3?
Right.
So 2 of them don't touch Columbia at all?
The first and the fifth do not touch Columbia.
District 1 has Dorsey Cirque.
Okay, District 1 has a little bit. But basically, Columbia controls 3 of the 5 council districts, and Columbia has 1/3 of the population.
Right.
Just kind of explains why we're in this boat.
How much of that money was federal government? You're talking like early 2020s?
I don't know. This is what, it doesn't say where the funds came into the county. It says what the county allocated them to.
Did you also total up state money?
I didn't, because like I said, I didn't look at where the money came in.
No, but actually separate state grants.
Separate state grants, I haven't gone through thoroughly.
Not that were direct, yeah, not through the county.
But the state offers bond issues. I haven't analyzed those completely, but I know in the 12th district where I live, 2 years ago, they got $30 million in state bond money to use on stuff. And the 12th district is half Columbia and half Elkridge. 100% of the state money was in Columbia and 0 was in Elkridge.
Okay, Viviana would like to speak, go ahead.
Yes, I'll be short, thank you. I am actually a mother of 2 young kids, and I live 5 minutes from the library. I have been going to the library since over 7 years old, so you can imagine how much I love the library and the services we have. I was very, very shocked also to know that they were going to completely demolish this space and then come up with a new one. My concern in general is, of course, the money situation, the funding and all that, but I think, and I agree with Anna, who spoke earlier, it is intentional to have these studies, to have these conversations during the time that we parents are not involved, that PTAs or we are not active during these months, during the summer breaks. I was present in study groups or focus groups, we call it, and none of the questions they had was as an option. Like, if you would have to give us your time, where you feel teachers like give us the reason. It was always towards like, we don't need this is our vision, this is the best we can offer to Columbia. It was always like, this is the best we're gonna give it to you, and this is the word, and therefore, there's not an option for you guys. I think there's a need for more discussion, and I can see that there's no transparency coming from whoever's coming up with these ideas, and I appreciate the fact that you guys are having these conversations, because I think more parents and also librarians should be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I believe when I talked to several librarians around here that they were not consulted or asked what they would see as a proper place. And as a person who is a librarian and works at a fairly large public library system. What they were proposing is a nightmare for safety and security. It is not, the larger the library, the more difficult it is to be able to make sure that people and children are safe there. And so they do need to ask actual librarians, not CEOs, but actual people who are practicing public librarians, what they imagine as a good space.
Yeah, and we should probably add that Kat is a librarian in Montgomery County, and so, you know, this isn't just her speculation on what is and isn't ideal in the library. You know, she has, you know, decades of experience.
I'm going on almost 24 years. I'm the shop steward, so when librarians feel things aren't safe, I hear about it, and the larger the library, the least safe they are. So if you're like, oh, I'm just gonna drop my kid off here, if it's a really large library, think twice. Librarians can't see everywhere.
And now that I think about it, you know, we were talking about earlier, we've been involved with, you know, local union solidarity efforts. And, you know, last year we did do a meeting, you know, Kat and I, as our first meeting as co-chairs last year, we did do a similar town hall about the Lakefront Library, or similar meeting about the Lakefront Library, but also that meeting was about the fact that Howard County public libraries were not unionized like most surrounding counties unionized. I don't know if our event had any impact on that, but either way, now since that meeting, Howard County public library workers have unionized, and they do have a union. I'm not sure if they're still negotiating their first contract or what, but
What I was told, they're still in negotiations.
Okay.
So but they did sign up with AFSCME, and so let's hope they get a really good contract.
But maybe, I don't know if they have protections yet to get involved in something like this. I would think that their say should go a long way, and you know, they can, you know, speak up about, you know, how this affects their jobs, especially if they have to, like, not be able to work for some time period while this library is closed and they're building the new one, and so maybe they're worth engaging in the future. We can build a contact there.
Are the library employees state employees? Are they paid by the county? County employees like the teachers, but retirement through the state?
I don't know how it works.
No, it's through the
It's
state.
quite different than where I work. I could answer that for where I work, but Columbia and Howard County, they do things differently, so I'm not sure. You'd have to probably ask someone who works there.
Howard County is funded through both the state and through the local contributions. Technically, the internet account is under the Pratt Library in Baltimore City. And so all of the money is flows through there.
Okay. And do you happen to know about how much Montgomery County paid for their most recent new library? Just ballpark, I mean, do you have any?
I know it was far less than.
It wasn't 144 million, was it?
Oh, not even close.
Okay.
Not even close.
And it wasn't 25 years ago either. It was probably fairly more current than that.
It was more current.
As it happened this week, Anne Arundel County announced they're going to replace the library in Glen Burnie with a new library, and the budget for that is $50 million.
15?
50.
And how about Carroll County? Is there
I don't know. I just recall, saw the article in the newspaper about the new Glen Burnie library, price tag $50 million.
Yeah, but it didn't have housing, it didn't have electric charging stations.
No, it's, I assume it's a library.
Yeah.
Jay, do you not want us to have the most expensive
Yeah, I know,
library in the
really.
state?
No, I don't.
Yeah, come on.
No.
So,
Like,
that
No,
are-
there's better ways to spend money.
So, I think we're ignoring what a big part of the project is a parking garage. And so, I mean, I would say, like, when we talk about this, we should be talking about the parking garage and not the library. Like, this is, you know, I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen
That's
the
a
price
really
list.
good point, and
Yeah.
I think that the parking garage is, you know, really benefiting the entire development. And the other thing is that I think they're looking at it as a project that they can do while the development is on pause. It looks like the Columbia downtown is not going to be delivering like they expected. In fact, the bond advisor testified to that a few weeks ago.
So do you recall how many units are supposed to be built in downtown Columbia?
It's about 6,200.
Units.
Yeah, but that also includes units that are to be built on the mall property.
How about within the Meriwether district?
Within the Meriwether district, I think it's about 1,800.
Okay.
That's like a rough number.
Do you know how many are built so far?
I do actually, about 900.
Okay, so so I went, you remember the banner last week had this event?
I didn't go to the event, but I heard about it.
Well, I did. And
I heard they had good drinks, so I should have been
yeah,
there.
free beer and wine. But
No liquor?
One of the interesting things on that event is that the Howard Hughes guy was hyping up what a smashing success the Meriwether district is, because they had 800 rented units, not the 700 rented units. I was like, wait, I thought they built 900. And you're corroborating that. They built 900. And they're out there claiming it's a smashing success when they've got under 80% occupancy rate.
Drew, another thing that doesn't make sense to me is how could they say, and you guys do remember that was a big change last year, right? Is that they were saying now it is going to be competitively bid, because that was one of the big things, is it wasn't going to be competitively bid. Now they say that. So how could it be competitively bid but $148 million? Like, how could they already know the price if it's supposed to be competitively bid?
Well, you got to put something in the budget to cover the bid.
Okay, I see.
So one would hope that if nobody meets the budget amount, then you have a problem if none of the bids come in under it.
Yeah. Okay.
Have they stripped away the housing and the 500 electric stations or whatever, and put in, what is the price for just the library that they're proposing? Do they have that as an option?
I don't know.
I don't know if it's an item. They don't want to build. It's not a. They don't want a library.
No, they want an amphitheater.
They're not going to price
They have an
something just for the
amphitheater.
library. That's not what
An
they want.
amphitheater.
Yeah.
Well, it's a totally legitimate question. Why are we buying a parking garage for Howard Hughes?
Yeah.
With our county taxes. It's
Like,
that
they're
doesn't
not
need to
pricing out
happen.
a library.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Karen?
Yeah, I'm just curious about the what did they tell you, Drew, 700 are
Yeah.
occupied? I'm wondering, what are the buildings in the Meriwether district? Is that like the Metropolitan and?
No, the building is the Juniper and the Marlowe. And just to speak to Mr. Roth's comments here, that occupancy level may not be indicative. The Marlowe is still in the rent-up phase.
Okay.
And the rent-up phase, obviously, you're not renting everything all at once. And so typically the rent-up phase is about anywhere from 24 to 36 months.
Okay, so,
And
but
can I-
these, to make sure we're talking about the same thing, these are the buildings that are by that sad little Colorburst Park.
Yeah, I know,
And the
yes,
busboys
yes.
and colors.
And if I could refer you, if you go to Emma,
Hey, take such.
which is the bond reporting system, there are quarterly reports that track that.
Okay.
So-
5 minutes until they
Yeah,
close
yeah.
it, guys.
So I just have one more comment, is I don't know which buildings this is, but my understanding is some of those buildings are being used as hotels.
Actually, the
My understanding
Juniper
too.
has 100 units at second.
Right, so they're not renting all of them, some of them are,
Extended stay.
yeah, some of them are extended stay, executive type rentals, that type.
Which I don't know if that was the original plan or if that's what they
No, that's
pivoted
what-
to,
yeah,
was
it's probably
the
the-
original
But
plan.
nobody actually wants to
Yeah,
live there.
exactly. But, yes, well, if one person wants to give one last comment, otherwise we can wrap it. Yeah, okay, all right. No,
Just one
quick,
more.
keep it quick.
One more. The idea that they're going, I think Joel mentioned that, they don't build a library, that they're gonna build like apartments. They're not gonna do something that doesn't make sense. So I don't think that should be like an argument that, that we should accept.
Don't get
And Hurry, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
And thank you all for having us.
Thank you, everybody who's
What's
still
the-
on
what's the-
online. We are ending the meeting now.
And you're